This is Business Decoded podcast with Ronnie Spellman. An informal chats with top business moguls as they share their stories of failure and success in a fun and relaxed way. Get entertained, educated, and unlock the secrets to success.
Welcome to Business Decoded with Ronnie Spellman. I have back our guest, John Coletta, who is the founding chef and partner at Quartino Restaurant. John, it's great to have you back. I've just been learning so much from cooking, and like many in my family, and I think many around the world, I love to eat, especially good quality food. So welcome back.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. It's great.
Now, on our first program, you spoke about starting at 14, working in one of the best hotels in the world, which I just find amazing. Even more than that, and I'd love to get back to that journey from 14 to feeling like you're ready to be an executive chef. But you mentioned in your restaurant, Quartino, your average meal is $35 a person, which is just incredible for the level of quality food that you provide. I want you to do this for me first. One, tell our listener where both restaurants are, because I think they should go and get that $35 average meal and experience the culinary of your location. But tell us about the restaurant and where they're located again.
We've got two sites for Quartino. The first one is in Chicago. We're located at 626 North State Street. We're on the corner of Ontario and State. And our second site, which opened in June of last year in 23, we're located at 5754 Grandscape Boulevard, Suite 200.
How did you select the Colony, which is near Dallas, Texas?
The Colony is a great area. It's certainly in development, like most of Texas is under development. It's a fabulous entertainment venue where you have families, husband, wife, two children. They visit. There can be entertainment, and clearly, after the entertainment, our stomachs need to be entertained. Right?
Now, I've spent time there. Have you been into the Shields Athletics?
Spectacular! What a place!
My gosh!
What a place!
They have everything you can imagine there.
Absolutely
and then
brilliant.
Nebraska Furniture Mart.
Another
Huge.
great place.
To buy any kind of furniture and technology equipment you want. I walked in and it was like I could hear sounds of glow. Like, this is, Ronnie, this is where you belong in this store. It was amazing.
No doubt.
And then on top of that, they have go-kart racing, indoor go-kart racing there. Which
at
is
Andretti,
At Andretti.
Spectacular.
So you picked a great location. Did you conduct a national search before deciding on it?
I don't necessarily know if it was a search. It was more in the ability to be in a growth market.
Sure.
The market is evolving. It's emerging, and it will continue. As you know, it seems like the world is moving to Texas, right?
Well, and it does. So, but to push you on that a little, Nashville is growing. Charlotte is growing. Texas is the second largest state in the country, both in land and in population. It's the 8th largest economy in the world. So you were really smart in picking Texas. And you're right. All of the major businesses are putting their headquarters here. Absolutely. But you did. You could have had any other place, though. L.A. and as I mentioned, Charlotte, North Carolina, and maybe back in New York, your home state. But you chose Texas.
Well, we're fortunate. We're fortunate that we were able to be part of this great evolution. That's, the Colony is a spectacular place.
Right.
And Grandscape is growing daily. Right. It has more and more visitors. The residences that are being developed are incredible.
They have an outdoor amphitheater, which is fantastic.
Awesome. Well, what a wonderful place. Absolutely.
It is.
Absolutely. We're fortunate.
So how many can you seat in your two different locations?
Well, in Chicago, we can seat about 600 here.
600? Oh, gosh.
Well, over time, the spacing of tables in Chicago is a little bit closer.
Okay.
It's a little colder, so we need to get closer to one another.
Sure.
And here in Texas, here at Grandscape, it's probably closer to 550.
Oh, gosh.
But the footprint is significantly larger. We've got an outdoor patio, which for weather like we're having now is awesome to be.
Wow.
Right? And we've got an area called the Grotto, which has incredible opportunities to host events. So
Sure.
it's truly wonderful.
What's your signature dish? And then after that, which dish you think is the most popular? And it might differ by location.
Surely. My signature dish has always been great cooking. I know that's not, I know that.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right? Whether it's a great cappuccino or it's a great fettuccine Alfredo,
Okay.
they should all execute at the highest level possible, right? So in coffee, with the development of a cappuccino, it's the coffee is the secret,
Sure,
right?
sure.
And high quality coffee, and also the machine and so on, right?
So someone can come there and get a great cappuccino.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. Okay.
Right? And to that point, to be able to have freshly made pastas in house, right? In as much
You
as
make your pasta in house?
we make fresh pasta in house, we also purchase what's known as bronze extruded pasta.
Okay.
So the pasta, the important factor is people in our culture, we believe that that dried pasta is inferior.
Sure.
Which is a misinterpretation, a misunderstanding. It's intended to be that way dried
Right.
because of the attributes that results from having the dried pasta. However,
Okay.
they must be made with superior ingredients to begin with,
Sure.
extruded in a manner which allows for the sauces to adhere to the pasta. So
Okay.
what does that mean? What is bronze extruded? It means that there are these microscopic grooves that are formed that allow the sauce to be adhered to the spaghetti or to the
fantastic.
linguine, right? That's
Sure.
key. And the big piece is the quality of the flour. So Italy is a country that has over 600 different species of wheat,
Oh, wow.
followed by the U.S. with 6 species of wheat. So that doesn't mean that one is better than
Sure.
the other. There's just a culture for pasta making. That's all.
Okay.
That's all that means,
Now,
right?
do you make ravioli fresh and tortellini?
Tortellini,
I love
absolutely.
tortellini. Okay.
Now, the secret to all of this is to become approachable.
Right.
And what do I mean by that? If someone comes in and decides, you know what, we serve our tortellini with a cream sauce, there's some peas, and there's some prosciutto on the plate, which is typical of what can be found in Emilia-Romagna. All of that said, someone says, I have a dietary restraint or I have a preference of no pork. The answer is no problem. Or
Okay.
we will prepare everything in the way you would like it to be prepared.
Wow.
So for that, we're able to have customers once again leaving the restaurant, raving about the experience
Sure.
and becoming our advocates.
I think people are listening to the podcast and making U-turns to go to your restaurant. I'm hungry now.
Pay attention to the lights. We don't want them to get a ticket. You'll get a ticket here in a second in Texas.
Now, I know that here in my family, at least, if we don't have the right size pan for the pasta, we might end up breaking it. Your thoughts on breaking dry pasta to fit the pan?
Not a good idea.
I tuck it in the corner.
There are many jokes about, when you get spaghetti and that it's broken to fit into the
Right.
pot, right?
Yeah.
You're better off to buy the right size pot because the spaghetti is intended
Right.
culturally to be eaten in that manner where you twirl it with a fork and a spoon,
true.
right? If you decide that you want to eat spaghetti that's broken, God bless, right? That doesn't make you incorrect, right?
Right.
If that's how you perceive it, then you should eat food the way you like it. Right?
And you're right. Everyone tells me you've got to roll it, Ronnie, but I cut my pasta. So no one is listening, I'm sure, so they don't know this now, but I cut my pasta.
And you know
And
what?
that's
If you
taboo.
like it, but those rules have been established for hundreds and hundreds of years, right? They're unwritten rules,
Sure.
and they are driven by cultural beliefs, right? Whether it's religious, whether it's regional, those are what create a significant culture, right?
Sure.
Now, as you don't have to go far from Italy, inside of very developed countries in Western Europe, to see similar challenges.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
Because people perceive Italian cooking the way they perceive it. That doesn't make them right or wrong.
Right.
But we need to always realize and have that awareness and understanding.
Right.
Once you have that and you can appreciate that and realize that,
Right.
God bless. I see customers eating pasta with a fork and a knife.
Right.
If that's how you want to do it,
Right.
God bless you.
I'm on that list.
Right. and that's not a criticism. I don't say that, with any only with integrity.
Right.
If that's how you
Right.
want to do it. Now, in my house, you probably get hit on top of the head. Okay.
My biggest worry though is twirling it and having tomato splatter all over my shirt and tie.
Well, that you know what? Point well taken.
Right.
And many people see it through those lenses, and you know what? They're right.
How funny.
If that's how they want to eat, God bless.
I love pasta though. My daughter went to Guatemala a couple years ago, and she was excited to experience the local culture. And she sent me a note while she was there. They ended up eating at an Italian restaurant several times while in Guatemala. And she was surprised there are a lot of Italian restaurants in Guatemala. I don't know if you realize that, but
there's lots of Italians all over the
everywhere.
world.
Right.
They comprise nearly 26% of the market.
Okay. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I have to get this other take on it for you. So you're making your spaghetti fresh. And then maybe next level is having a can of tomato paste and tomato sauce. And then maybe somewhere down the line is using ketchup.
Oh, God.
And I believe that might be a common area. If the only thing you have in your cabinet is ketchup, John, what do you tell those people?
Go buy a hamburger. No, here. When we think about every ingredient and we think about them long and hard, the quality of the tomato, the species of the tomato is an integral part to the success of the preparation, right?
Sure.
If we believe food is just food for the engine, then we are going to find ourselves taking severe liberties.
Sure.
If we have these disciplines in place that say, these tomatoes are grown in a specific region, you're going to get specific results, right?
True.
If we believe what grows together goes together,
Right.
then carry that philosophy through everything we cook.
Sure.
Right? It's here we have such wonderful ingredients. And the moment these ingredients get exported to another country, they're just a little bit different, right?
Right.
And it's the same for Italian cooking, same for French cooking, and so on, right? The more we can utilize ingredients that are grown by committed artisan growers, the more we can utilize ingredients that have integrity, the better our cooking immediately is elevated.
Now, so several species of tomatoes, and I always have to debate when I go to the store and I'm preparing fresh tomato sauce, which tomatoes should most people gravitate to? What would you recommend?
I think you want to buy, number one, a tomato. It's obviously a canned product, but it's a product of Italy, right? And there are many, many brands, right? We use a specific brand because the tomatoes are 100% Italian species grown on Italian soil. Does that make them better or worse? We found that tomato is consistent. Remember, every season produces a different product because they're naturally grown, right? If when we think about hydroponics, it's vegetables that are grown in water.
Right.
How much nutrition can there be?
Right.
Now, the flowers grown that's this way are wonderful, assuming we don't consume them. Right. But we're consuming, we want nutritional value, we're looking for flavor, and we're looking for a food experience that synergizes the entire experience, right? For that, we need specific ingredients grown with, obviously soil that has the nutritional values that can be transmitted into those tomatoes. Sun, wind, all of those important factors.
I think I mentioned to you in the last program a farm that I visited recently where they take kids on a tours. What they're doing, I love hydroponic butter lettuce, by the way, which is one of my favorites. They're doing something a little different. They're calling it aquaponics. They have these massive fish tanks with a variety of different fish in there. One tank has, I think, catfish, and the other fish tank, I think, has tilapia. Massive fish tanks. And they're using the extract from the fish in the water. They're feeding it to the water system so they can use the nutrients from that to grow these plants. And what? It's an amazing facility. Brilliant. If you want to go by, we have to check it out. And then they sell to local restaurants.
Love it.
A high-quality product that they grow in water using the nutrients from the fish.
It's extraordinary.
Brilliant concept. We're going to have them on the show and sometime in the near future. But you're right, though. I think all of that, from the sunshine to the quality of the water and the ground, makes that product just amazing.
Absolutely. And trying to recreate it, it's a challenge, to say the least, right?
Right. Mentors. So you took us through, again, starting your first position at 14 at the Waldorf Astoria, which is just amazing, by the way. I know so many people start at the local fast food chain.
No doubt.
But you started right at the Waldorf. And what did that path look like? Did you meet certain people specifically that helped you along the way? They took you under their wing and showed you. They didn't just fire you when you made a mistake.
No,
right?
No, they just beat you. They wouldn't fire you.
Especially in New York, right?
Right. That's too easy. You know, there are hundreds, literally hundreds and hundreds of people that mentored and helped me to achieve what I've achieved. And it's unfortunate we don't remember them.
Sure.
Right?
Agreed.
We just don't. We remember the people that have notoriety, that are well publicized, right? You know, I worked in a kitchen in Brussels that, you know, the chef is known only in that circle, but the food was probably some of the best food I've ever had the opportunity to work with.
It's amazing.
And in those, you know, media has a way of driving popularity, as we all know, right? The big piece is to walk away, I've always found, to be enriched and to learn and continuously evolve. You know, even today, I feel as though I haven't arrived, and I'm I'm a student, and I view it through the lenses of eager to learn. I want to see more, grow more. I know what I don't know, and I know I have a lot to continue to learn.
You know, John, so that's interesting. We started the podcast. I worked with our producer. We came up with the concept. He asked me about it, and initially I was a little reluctant. But what I realized is kind of similar to what you've mentioned, that when I look back at that journey, there's so many people that touched me, so many experiences that I thought were worth sharing with others, and then the ability to find people like you that are sharing similar experiences. I feel like I'm just getting started still, and I've been out of college for several decades,
awesome.
But it sounds like you're feeling the same way, and that's partly because of my interest in continuing to learn. So when people ask me about the business podcast, we have young people that are listening, but we also have people that have been experienced, very well accomplished, listening as well. Why? Because they're learning differently from people like you and other people that come on the show.
You know, to have an appetite for learning is truly a gift.
It is.
And, you know, you receive a degree, you finish an apprenticeship, and you believe you've arrived.
Right.
You know, and we're looking continuously to validate that thought process. The reality of it is we will never finish. Food is a subject that is infinite.
Right.
Right? As we all know. Different depths. We're continuously having new discoveries, evolutions, right, to grow. And if we stick to those thought processes, but with integrity and with high appreciation for the past, which allows us to build upon the future,
right,
you'll be incredibly successful.
Yes. I love taking my daughters when they were growing up to farms, apple orchards specifically, and then we go strawberry picking as well. But picking an apple is just an amazing experience. And then on those farms, they have the ability for you to squish the apples to make apple cider. Now,
Brilliant.
that's a different taste and experience than getting apple juice in the store.
No doubt.
It's totally different. Absolutely. It's an incredible experience. And then they made a lot of the apple products on site, apple pies, etc.
Sure,
it's so
marmalade.
delightful.
Love it.
But I read an article, though, the other day that you might find fascinating. And it discussed how our species of apples have increased, Fiji and a lot of other
Sure.
apples, more than just Granny Smith, have so many different apples. And what they're doing now is that they're picking them when they're ripe, not too far in advance, but they're storing them in these containers with a certain gas, and those apples will last for about a year.
Oh, yeah?
Because of the cycle for growing food, but they can make them last a year, and then we can have the consistency of an apple in the grocery stores throughout the entire year. Amazing.
It's brilliant.
It is.
I mean, what food scientists have achieved is remarkable,
Yeah.
right? However, we've lost one integral part through all of that is the seasonality, right?
Sure. That's true.
Right? You want to eat apples in autumn,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And wait till next autumn and see what that season brings, right?
I agree.
Imagine eating strawberries 12 months out of the year, lemons 12 months out of the year. The moment we've grown to that level,
Right.
but we're not celebrating that autumn
Right.
with the wonderful squashes that are available
Right.
and are produced, right? We want them all year long.
That's true. Now, you mentioned squash and pumpkins. There's so many
Love it.
varieties of them. A lot of the pumpkins and squash we don't eat, but they're all different kinds of colors. And I don't know if you have a special dish with the squash, more than what most people tend to eat, but it's delightful what you can do.
And in fact, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'll be making ravioli with roasted butternut squash and
fantastic.
a simple preparation where it's just butter and sage. Simple. You know, if you can keep it to 3 or 4 ingredients without getting out of control, perfect. But each ingredient has to be thoughtfully prepared, thoughtfully understood, and more importantly, brought together with deep knowledge and understanding.
Amazing. Have you done anything with pumpkins? I've not. I feel like I haven't used them enough from a cooking perspective. We use them for decoration. We might make pumpkin seeds or pumpkin pie, but have you done anything else?
Absolutely. I love to cook foods inside a pumpkin.
Okay.
Right? Whether it's a roast chicken, cooking a chicken inside of that pumpkin is awesome.
So
Especially
you hollow the pumpkin out and put
hollow
the chicken?
Pumpkin out, put the chicken inside, and let it cook very, very slowly.
Amazing.
So now you have this transfer of flavors.
Right.
So the chicken picks up, you know, all those wonderful attributes, and it's healthy.
Okay.
So now you get this wonderful preparation of chicken and pumpkin together, right?
Yeah.
Of course, it's going to have been spiced with rosemary and some wonderful aromatics.
Amazing.
But it has time to cook.
I have to try that.
Absolutely.
Now, spaghetti squash. Have you? I've cooked
love
with
it.
spaghetti. Oh, it's
Love it.
fantastic.
Love
It
it.
tastes so delightful with
Absolutely.
a nice spaghetti tomato-based sauce.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay.
Extraordinary.
So you mentioned Brussels, right, as a place that you learned a lot. What was it about that experience that gave you the learning that you mentioned?
Brussels is situated where they adapt the French techniques, but they're driven with this elevated depth of flavor.
Okay.
So they're famous for mussels and fries, right?
Yeah.
But the quality of those mussels is second to none.
Okay.
Those French fries or fried potatoes, as we all know, second to none. The quality of the salt, the quality of the pepper, the kind of pepper that's used to season, and the fact that they're cooked separately, and now you have this experience where you're eating them simultaneously. And they're famous for, obviously, mayonnaise, right?
Sure.
And the mayonnaise, it's superior eggs, it's superior olive oil.
Okay.
All of that, all those steps create a memorable experience. The mustards that are used, sensational, absolutely sensational. So that commitment to simplicity Well, it's incredibly approachable, right? Where we have some mussels, we've got some fries, but look at what we've created, right?
Right.
What I found extraordinary was there was this commitment to eel. And
interesting.
And the eel, when we think of it today, if you were to put it on the menu, people will say thank you, but no thank you, right? And there wouldn't be many takers. But if it's cooked in red wine, just that one, cook slowly the entire eel in red wine, extraordinary.
Amazing.
I mean, but again, the quality of the wine that grows, what grows together goes together. Cooking those things together very, very slowly. Cook it slowly by a wood-burning stove. Awesome.
I've spoken to a few chefs, maybe not as established as you are, but they speak about the complexity of foods. Not as in hard to cook, but just how those flavors come together and the complexity of it that makes it simple when you look at it, but delightful from a taste perspective. Yeah.
Absolutely. When we think of food, we want to let nature do all the work.
Right.
Right? We as cooks present it with the efforts of 95% of the work being done by nature.
Amazing.
Right? We just season it with restraint.
Right.
Learn to place those foods attractively on the plate without trying to be an artist.
Right.
Place them the way they were intended and let nature do all the work.
Right. I had someone once tell me, and I experienced this in cooking as well, like if you take a really good steak, just a little salt and pepper, and maybe some olive oil. And
for sure, olive oil.
You don't need
Italian olive oil.
I agree. You don't need a bunch of other seasonings that they make in the stores with all these items in it. And that's it. You keep it simple.
When we were opening Gibson's Italia, I had to make a steak sauce.
Okay.
Right, because people have grown
to
want steak sauce. So what I did was I walked around the kitchen and took the ingredients off the shelves, and I was in a test kitchen to do this, and then began to make a steak sauce.
Okay.
And from doing that kind of inspirational cooking, you arrive at a palate level that people can identify with. So if someone wants steak sauce, and not to mention the commercial ones, because there are preservatives and additives added to retain their longevity. But if you're able to make something with high quality ingredients, it should be successful.
Right.
Now,
you mentioned olive oil. I hear there's a whole, it's kind of like finding diamonds and mining diamonds. There are a few people that control the whole diamond, from what I hear around the world. Olive oil, I hear, is very similar. Getting the real olive oil that is a high quality product, and it's a process, and getting extra virgin versus the other.
Well, here's the long and the short, if you will, of olive oil. Spain is the largest producer of olive oil in the world, right?
Okay.
Second comes Italy, countries like Turkey, Greece, the North African countries all produce olive oil, as we all know, right? However, the olive species, where they're grown, determine the net result. Each harvest produces a different oil. Now, the demands made on Italy. So let's put this in perspective. Italy fits very comfortably into our state of Florida. Comfortably. Right? And think of, if you believe that 25% of the consumer market comes from Italy. This is a fact. Okay. Where do they get the raw materials? Where do they get the wheat from? Where do they get milk from? Where do they get olives from? Clearly, they have to go outside. They'll go to the Ukraine. They'll go to Russia. They'll go wherever they need to go, to Poland and so on, to find raw materials, right? For export. Not to remain in the country. So the better products will remain in Italy, right? Makes sense, right? Think of every product, every consumable product but they have the know-how. Think about coffee.
Right.
Just espresso. There's not one coffee bean grown on the Italian peninsula. But look at, same in Germany, same in France, same throughout, right? But just think of the technology they've got and the understanding. More importantly, they've been able to practice it for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. So they've made their series of mistakes.
Right.
There's no doubt.
Yes.
We've got to speak transparently. Through that, it's difficult to compete.
Okay.
Right? They're also experts at blending ingredients, right? So they'll take oil from a foreign country.
Right.
It can be from Brazil. Further refine it and blend it with 5, 10%, 3% of Italian olive oil.
Okay.
And sell it, right? There's also the last pressing of olive oil is called sansa. And the sansa is prohibited to be consumed in Italy, but it's sold, it's exported.
Okay.
For the reason it's believed to be cancer causing, okay? So it's not only the U.S. that consumes it, it's the rest of the world that consumes it. Mm-hmm. So they've got this last pressed olive oil called sansa. Mm-hmm. And the Italians won't. You can't purchase it. It's not permitted in Italy. You can't sell it. If you do, you'll be imprisoned, maybe for a day or two, but you'll be imprisoned. Sure. Okay, not that long.
It's a big deal there, I guess. Wow.
But you mess around with olive oil, you got problems.
That's what I hear. Now, in our next program, and you've been so gracious, you said you come on because I'd love to talk to you about obesity and nutrition and finding that balance on our next program. For this one, if you had to speak to our listener about your favorite spring, summer dishes, what would they? So I think in the last program you discussed your holiday dish, having fish. What would you do in the spring? Do you have a springtime favorite?
Oh God, yeah, springtime. I love the ground is bursting with incredible vegetables, right? So things like fava beans, mint, peas, asparagus, right? Morel mushrooms.
Okay.
I mean, when you put these on a plate individually, not together, spectacular, right? Just take some mint and some asparagus and simmer them together. Extraordinary, right?
Nice.
Same with fava beans. And fava beans are, or better known as broad beans, they're the only bean you have to peel twice. You take them out of the pod and peel them. Spectacular. You can eat them with the outer skin or without.
Right.
Incredible flavors.
Amazing. Now, what would you couple with your meal in the winter, fall? And then what would you couple with your meal from a drink perspective in the spring and summer? Do you have any favorites time of year?
For me, springtime, I believe it's still an Aperol Spritz. I believe that Aperol beginning, it's either Aperol or Campari. I mean, one of those two things. I think that they help to get your appetite started. They allow you to have incredible experiences in food. Also, a glass of Prosecco is still a welcome beverage, right?
Well, I have to tell you as we wrap up this one, you might have a line of people at the door to your restaurant today.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. We look forward.
John, it's so insightful, and I appreciate you being on the program.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. And, once again, Quartino is located within Grandscape inside the Colony.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us on Business Decoded with Ronnie Spellman.
Thank you for listening to Business Decoded podcast with Ronnie Spellman. Please be sure to subscribe and share and stay tuned for more incredible Business Decoded episodes.